So we're like less than 24 hours after the attack by Yemen. The rocket fell not too far from here. A man was saved by his cat because the cat woke him up to go outside. The man got out of bed, and right then he heard a boom. A rocket fell nearby, and the impact caused the windows to shatter, and his whole bedroom was covered with lots of glass, which could have for sure injured him, maybe fatally, and the cat. So the man and the cat was saved. This cat wants to go out all the time. I don't let him go because car accidents, getting hit by a car for a cat is still much more dangerous than rockets in Israel. We have a lot of car accidents with people involved and cats for sure. Cats' lives matter, people. Remember that. So I don't let my cat out. I was thinking to let him out for a walk on a leash with the dog, but we'll have to find a harness that fits such a large frame, huh, Sam? The other news update is, if you're watching the news, is there was the Christmas market fatal attack when a man drove into a Christmas market in a town, I think it's near Berlin, Germany. The man turns out to be Saudi. Nobody's surprised in Israel, although the Saudis are considered moderates. Yeah. And the man actually was supposed to be right-wing anti-Islam. He's a psychiatrist. Third fact, he was under the influence of drugs. Interesting fact, the massacre of October 7th, a lot of the terrorists were also under the influence of drugs, because a normal human being, how evil he can be, cannot do the horrible things they did to shoot babies and children and pregnant women without the influence of drugs. They definitely were drugged. ISIS uses drugs on the terrorists. They drug the people, and it's a well-known fact that people under the influence of drugs do things they normally would not do, due to the fact that the level of inhibitions just goes down, and people are able to do horrible things to other people or animals under the influence of drugs. So bring into mind, it's probably not a drug-related incident, but more related to ideology, terrorist ideology. 5 people, I don't know, in Israel they said 11. According to the news, it's 5 people. 5 people is still a lot, and a lot of people are injured and are in hospitals at the moment. In Israel, we have injuries from the rocket from Yemen. It's really sad because in Yemen, there are children dying of malnutrition, of hunger. I don't know statistics, but significant amount of children in Yemen starve from hunger. I saw this on a report, a UN report. So, people then say, oh, they're poor, so they have no choice. Really? They have money to buy rockets, long-range rockets, to send to Israel, but they don't have money to feed those poor children. I've seen pictures in the New York Times of Yemen babies dying. Like, it's hard to see. It's like the starving children of Africa. They're dying of hunger. There's not enough food. There's famine in Yemen, and they're very poor people. The poorest people in the world are in Yemen, and yet they are using long-range rockets to send into Israel. This is something that is unacceptable to the rational, humane mind. And it's also unacceptable that the massacre of October 7th shall be celebrated as a victory, while obviously nobody's celebrating terrorist attacks in Germany, Norway, or Sweden. By the way, an elderly woman walking her dog in Sweden was injured and her dog killed from a bomb by a terrorist attack. And yet it's not making headlines in the world. Israel killing terrorists is considered in the international court immoral, illegal, yet killing a dog and injuring an elderly woman killing people in Christmas markets. You can't put these people on trial. I'm not talking about the people who did this activity, but the people who promoted these ideologies, the people that are teaching that in American universities that terrorism is justified. Well, justify a killing in a Christmas market and people will be outraged. But to justify a massacre in a kibbutz on the border to Gaza when a music festival is considered politically correct, then that seems to me very incorrect. And as for my cat, sorry, Sam, you will never be let out, but he does wake me up in the middle of the night. And maybe actually, we can also say he kind of, he did wake me up at 2 a.m. and I didn't go to sleep after that. And I woke up at around 3 a.m. I was up because the cat did wake me up at 2 a.m. to eat. But he does that all the time. So I'm probably almost always awake during hours where most people are asleep. There was no immediate danger. I heard a boom. I had a big dilemma whether I should stay in the staircase, like my elderly neighbors, or go down to the bomb shelter. I chose to go to the bomb shelter. I took the grandchild with me. I mean, she also went. She felt safer there. And yeah. And there were two dogs, my dog and another neighbor's dog. And my dog didn't like her, but she controlled herself, which is amazing. She really doesn't like Belgian Shepherd dogs for some reason. Anything that looks like a wolf or a German Shepherd, she doesn't like, or a pit bull. She has this image in her brain, and that's it. She's very protective. Otherwise, she's a calm dog. As I said, she has epileptic seizures since the October of 2023. I really want to see a correlation between rocket attacks and her seizures, because I do believe that animals sense earthquakes, they sense all kinds of disasters and energies in the world. I'm also really, really sensitive to energies. We all are, by the way, but some people are more aware than others. So let's try to be nice to each other when we can. And for some reason, for me, I really always feel like I have to be brutally honest and say what I think. But I think I never really would say false facts like Candace Owen. I would never attack a group. I still do not generalize all Muslim people, which are around 2 billion people. I refuse to do so because it doesn't make sense. But I really do think that we should acknowledge the fact that Islamic terror is an extreme Islamic ideology that denies the way history works, that Islam is relatively new religion and definitely did not exist here thousands of years ago when Judaism existed, and later on Christianity that comes from Judaism. When you celebrate Christmas, you celebrate the birth of a Jewish boy, man, who was crucified by the Romans. And lo and behold, in Rome lives the Pope. And lo and behold, Candace Owen converted to Catholicism, even though the Pope refuses to denounce terrorism, Islamic terrorism. He refuses to call it Islamic terrorism. He refuses to denounce attacks on northern Israel, where Jesus lived. He refuses to denounce terrorist attacks on Israel, where the people of Jesus live, people that are genetically linked to Jesus. I mean, we're part of the tribe of Jesus Christ, and yet the Pope, who sits in Rome, where the Romans who crucified Jesus come from. And yes, I understand that the cross is considered an act of sacrifice that is spiritual. However, any act of violence is supposed to be against Christian values. I don't understand why chopping a tree that grew for years, is in any way a Christian act. It's a pagan tradition. And I think it's really wrong to celebrate a Christian holiday with pagan traditions. So I know I knew a few Christians in Europe who don't celebrate Christmas the way other people do. They don't have a Christmas tree. They don't have Christmas gifts. They don't chop down trees. They celebrate more the Christian values. Christian value system is called Judeo-Christian values because Christian values come from Judaism and Jewish values. And nonviolence should be one of the pillars of those values. Self-defense is not the same as violence. That is for the pure sake of violence. There's a big difference, and if the International Court of Law doesn't know the difference, somebody should teach them very simple aspects of moral codes. Nonviolence is very different than self-defense. Nonviolence is not harming anyone just for the sake of harming them. Self-defense is defending yourself or your people or your animals from a violent force that wishes to destroy them. Since this is the case in Israel, we are in a war of existence, of self-preservation. The army is now defending us. If it wasn't for the army, there would be terrorists here and we'd all be dead. And that's a fact, including maybe the cat, maybe. The dog, and etc. So condolences to all the families harmed by terror, who are harmed, or are recuperating in hospitals or in their homes from injuries as a result of this terrorism this weekend. And there are people that are, by the way, in hospitals for months, recuperating from injuries. So I wish you all good health and recovery, and for people to wake up and realize who's the bad guys and who are the ones who are fighting the bad guys. And that's all I have to say, right, Shem? Yep. So thank you for waking me up in the middle of the night for food all the time. I'm always awake, and I always have to catch up on my sleep during the day when there's less of a chance of a terror attack from rockets. Somehow they like to terrorize us by affecting our sleep. Sleep deprivation causes a lot of anxiety and depression. So, and especially if you drink coffee like me, it is really harmful for your health not to sleep enough. But this is the way I've always been, so for me it's just a different excuse for not sleeping enough. But try to catch up on your sleep because your body needs it to defend itself from mental imbalance, from anxiety. Sleep is really important. And right now I'm resting. I'm wishing you a good week. Our week starts tomorrow. Let's hope good things will happen this week, and let's hope everybody's safe everybody's safe, and may all living beings live free of